Okay, now we're in Revelation 18, and we're still talking about Babylon the Great, which is described as a harlot, a prostitute, a whore, and I think it's the United States of America. So we're looking in Revelation, the last book of the Bible, and we're in chapter 18. Let's start in verse 2. And this angel, he cried mightily with a loud voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, and has become a dwelling place of demons, a prison for every foul spirit, and a cage for every unclean and hated bird. So you know the destruction of Babylon is coming. That's why when I first heard that Babylon was the United States, I said, no, it can't be. It has to be something else. Let it be anything else. I don't want my country to be the one that's going to be destroyed. I just rejected it out of hand. I said it can't be. Then when I started to study it, I saw that the description of Babylon matches perfectly with the description of the United States. And sad to say that every day the description fits even better with all of the things that the United States is doing and the financial problem it's having now. So in verse 3 it says, For all the nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. The kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth have become rich through the abundance of her luxury. That's a key thing now. In this chapter 18, it talks a lot about the merchants. You have to realize that the United States is the biggest, we do business with more countries. More countries and businessmen and merchants become rich and make money from their relationship with the United States. It's incredible. We are the number one. And what we mainly do now is import. We export a lot, but we import so much, and we buy all of the goods from the other countries. So if we stop buying their goods, they're not going to be very happy. I mean, we buy so much. Even with things are starting to heat up a little bit with Russia and China. China is going to be sad when the United States ceases to exist because we buy all of their goods. I mean, the rest of the world buys a lot too, but the U.S. has the money, still has the money, even though now they're just printing it. In verse 3, the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth have become rich through the abundance of her luxury. Verse 4, and I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people, so that you don't share in her sins, and so that you don't receive of her plagues. All right, in your Bible, and mine too, it says, lest you share in her sins and lest you receive of her plagues. For those of you, just in case you don't know, or even if you thought you know what lest means, lest does not mean unless. A lot of people think it means unless. It doesn't. It means so that you don't, or so that it doesn't. Something to that effect. It's an older English word, and we don't use it that much anymore. But just so you understand what you're reading in your Bible, you really, when you read the Bible, you need to take out your dictionary sometimes and look up the word. Don't guess the meanings of words, because I mean, this is life or death. You need to know what the Bible is saying. And sad to say, you know, I'm a translator and interpreter, and I don't agree with leaving this word like this, lest. And in more modern, this is the New King James that I'm reading from. And in more modern versions, they wouldn't put that word. But, well, nevertheless. So, what is this verse saying here? The verse is saying, Come out of her, my people. So hopefully you're going to be God's people, Yahweh's people. I hope that I'm part of his people. So what does he tell me? He says, come out of her. Come out of whom? The United States, Babylon. You have to decide who is Babylon. You think Babylon is the Vatican or the Catholic Church? Are you in the Catholic Church? Are you in the Vatican? I'm not. They don't control my life. They have no influence over my life at all. I was a Catholic until I was 17 years old, and I started reading the Bible. And then I realized that the Catholic Church and the Bible, they don't mesh. They don't go together. Talk about that some other time. But nevertheless, you have to figure out where Babylon is if you consider yourself to be one of Yahweh's people, because he says, get out of her. And people will say, well, that just means spiritually get out. Well, throughout the whole Bible, Yahweh is telling people to go here, to do that, and none of them say, oh, it's just spiritual. Imagine if Noah, when he said, build an ark, Noah said, yeah, that's okay, Yahweh. I'll build it in my heart. I'll build it in my mind. I'll build it spiritually. No, he wanted him to build an ark. Seriously, because the earth was going to be flooded. Now, if you don't believe that there was really a flood and there was no Noah, I mean, you probably don't want to even be watching this video, because I believe in the Bible is real, it's literal. He told Abraham to go from ancient Babylon, coincidentally, and to go where he was going to show him to go. I mean, he didn't even tell him where he wanted him to go, where he wanted Abraham to go. He wanted him to go to where modern day Israel is. And he just went. Imagine if Abraham said, okay, yeah, I'll go there in my heart. I'll go there in a frame of mind. I'll think about going there. I'll imagine going there. No, he had to get up, and Abraham was rich. He had lots of family, friends, people who worked for him, cows and sheep and all kinds of stuff. They had to be transported over to in that direction. And he didn't even know where he was going, but in faith he went. Do you have faith? You know, it talks about many are called, few are chosen, and fewer have faith. So do we have faith? Can we step out in faith like that? When I read this verse, and I'm going to show you 7 verses in the Old and New Testaments, all throughout the whole Bible, that tell us to get out of Babylon, to get out of Chaldea, to leave. And it doesn't just say come out of her like this verse 4 of Revelation 18. It says flee, run, escape, get out, up, go, move it. In so many words, in so many possible verbs. Ask yourself, if you believe the Bible, how many times does Yahweh have to say something to you for you to do it? Just one time, right? If he said, don't wear rubber boots, as a believer in the Bible, and you want to obey him, I mean, it doesn't say that. I'm just making it up. You wouldn't do it. And he only has to say it once, and you wouldn't wear rubber boots. Well, how much more? He says, get out of Babylon, my people. He says it 7 times. I'm going to show you. He says it 7 times. I'm going to go to those 7 scriptures in another video. Look for it. 7 times he says, get out. But here's one of them. Here's one of the key ones that most people know about. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people, so that you don't share in her sins, because living in Babylon, you will be sharing in her sins. Not that the rest of the world doesn't have sins. It doesn't. I mean, it does. But definitely there, you'll be sharing in her sins, and so that you don't receive of her plagues. Babylon is going to receive terrible plagues. It's going to be destroyed, attacked. Terrible things are going to happen there. And the Father, Yahweh, doesn't want that to happen to you. So, get out as soon as you can. I don't live there anymore. It wasn't easy either. I'll talk about that another time too. About leaving, getting out, what to do, how to do it. Verse 5. For her sins, how much sins has she committed? Her sins have reached to heaven, and Yahweh has remembered her iniquities. Render to her, in other words, give to her, render to her just as she rendered to you, and repay her double according to her works in the cup which she has mixed. Mixed double for her. Verse 7. In the measure that she glorified herself and lived luxuriously, in the same measure give her torment and sorrow, for she says in her heart. What does the United States say in her heart? What does Babylon say in her heart? I sit as a queen, and I am no widow, and will not see sorrow. You know, maybe up till 9/11, the U.S. felt more like that. Who could touch me? Who could hurt us? Who could hurt the U.S.? It's a rich and abundant place. I mean, Americans, when you live in the U.S., you don't even realize how rich you are. I lived there pretty well. I'm from a middle-class family, but I never thought that we were rich or anything. But now I've lived in other parts of the world. I realize that almost every American, even people who you might consider lower middle class, if you want to, but definitely the middle class, we live like the kings. We live like the rich people live in the rest of the world. So, I mean, we have luxuries and abundance. Everyone's driving their car and maybe has, a few cars each house, and TVs and comfortable houses, and food is cheap, and things are changing now a little bit, but they're still not bad. Okay, so we're going to leave off there, and that was verse 6, and we'll pick it up in verse 7.